Hi everyone. Hi Liz. We're here for another chat together. How's everything over there in New Jersey?
Hi, great to see you. Well, it's dark and chilly here, and I just washed my hands, but I was just in the middle of throwing paint around. But it's been a fairly good week for painting, which was a surprise. I wasn't expecting it. It takes you by surprise when you're ready to go sometimes, and you're like you got your roadblocks, and then other times I just snuck something in and was able to get a bit more in the flow. So I think coming out of COVID, I was ready to
That's
climb
right.
up the walls.
Are you feeling all right now? You're all back
Yeah,
to, oh, that's
yeah.
good. Actually, I was
Oh,
thinking we're about to go into autumn here, and the weather's still very much summer, which is beautiful. But I was kind of thinking of those because autumn colors, I just love autumn
yeah,
colors.
look at your wear. I was just going to say you're wearing this clothes to match your paintings.
I know it's true. Like all the oranges and reds, and it's another topic for us for another
Yeah.
day, but just that idea of going into different seasons and what that does for our art and our color palette. But today we're going to talk about learning and the need to continue learning and how important that is to our art practices. Where do
And
you
how we learn.
Yes, and how we learn. Where
Yeah.
where does this sit for you? Where do you go
Um,
when you're wanting to learn something?
well, I think this is a great topic because I need to remind myself to continue learning. I find I get sort of stuck in, or I blitz. I did a whole load of courses early on and retreats, which were wonderful. And you get so saturated with everybody else's techniques, and then I needed to time just to absorb them and flow them through me. And so that probably is coming to an end now. It's sort of now finding time in your calendar when you get busy to schedule it in.
Yeah,
um, but I love watching videos on Instagram and YouTube, and when I'm teaching, I've just done a whole couple of workshops on the jelly plate, and so I it's not something that I particularly knew how to do. So I was watching a load of things and then doing it myself, and then trying to just pull in as many different people's ideas and then own them. So the other way, I guess, is just by going on great retreats with great artists that you admire and really want to absorb what they have to offer. Um, how
is it,
about you?
is
What
it
are
something
you?
you do a lot, Liz? Doing going on retreats, and
Is that say again?
is that something you do a lot?
I haven't done it. Last year I went to Sri Lanka and I did a 2 week retreat there with an artist, and that was great, and ended up extending my trip for a couple more weeks. So last that was 2021. So I didn't do anything in 2022. I started teaching myself, which was really wonderfully exciting. And I was encouraged by friends that were in education to start doing it. So as I got the momentum really grew with that one, I was really giving out more than I was putting in last year. So I've got some things that I'm watching. It's just timing. I'm teaching in Bali. I've got now. I plan my year in December, and every month has some commitment that I'm building up to.
Yeah,
So I need to remember to build in more time to do my own retreats and workshops and
yeah.
go to places. I was looking at residencies over the weekend and
Oh,
thinking that that would be a cool thing to explore. I mean, I have a great space here and I love my setup, but I was thinking, oh, I'd love to go to Portugal. I wonder whether there was any residencies that I could do over there so that I could really lean in and learn from what I've learned,
yeah.
and get to know myself a little bit more. But how about you? Where do you absorb and learn and receive from?
Yeah, well, I mean, I've done a few kind of more workshoppy things in person. I tend to do a lot online, or I have done in the past, and I guess it's finding someone. I mean, for me, it's about the person, right? Finding
Yes.
someone you really relate to the style of teaching more than their art. Like I remember maybe 10 years ago, I did an online course with Flora Bowley. And yeah, she's from she's from the US, Portland, I think. And it was online, but it was just, and it's not so much her art that I loved. I loved the freedom that she gave me and the permission that she gave me to just, and I don't know why we need the permission slip from someone else, but it seems to me whenever I've done something, there's some kind of permission that's just allowed me to do something that I wasn't doing before, which is usually breaking self-imposed rules, or so there's something really freeing about seeing someone else's practice and applying it to your own. It's the way she handled paint, the way that she kind of like broke traditional rules and of working that I really loved. That was about 10, I think it's about 10 years ago. So that was a really big, and then and then like you, I think I just go through pockets of finding someone, and then it's all about how I apply it in my own practice. And then there might be someone else that comes along. I know when I found Louise Fletcher online, there's something about the way she works that I really related to. I think the experimentation, the kind of messiness, there's something about the way she works that, it kind of freed me up when I needed to just get some other level of something or some other technique, or and then I haven't really, there's just little pockets of people that I find, and it just gives me a little bit to follow, and then I go off in my own direction. And I think then for me it's more about learning from books. And
really? What kind of books?
Not so much art, more about mindset and
yes.
what I mean? Yeah.
Yes.
So I listen to a lot of books about mindset and about ways of being, and I think in a lot of ways that frees me up as much as learning about a technique.
Yeah, no, that's so interesting, because when you ask me that question, of course, I just completely go down the art route. I'm exactly the same. Anybody that looks at my Audible library, it's just full of mindfulness, and I'm listening to a great book called The Energy Codes at the moment. And it's really, I'm on, as you are, on this journey of self-discovery and embodiment, and really being able to feel the feelings and understand my own inner landscape much more. So actually that's where I'm learning the most at the moment. And that, just listening to a podcast as I'm painting, it sort of expands my mind a little bit. And that room where the expansion happens is where flow comes in and where new stuff happens, right? When you're thinking things from a different direction and from a different angle, it really is exciting. So yes, that's so funny. I'm exactly the same. I'm listening. And podcasts, there's some brilliant podcasts out there that are just not just art ones, but I listen to Insights at the Edge and Super Soul Sunday, and all kinds of spiritual leaders. Those are my most informative. Going back to what you were talking about with the online stuff, I must have probably 8 online workshops in my email folders that I haven't done. And that I thought, oh my God, I really want to. Karen Stamper did a sketchbook. There was some printing ones. I can't remember all the ones that I have. But that at the moment, they're really enticing. There's a contemporary figure drawing one that I really want to do. I bought them. They're all in my inbox. Can I find time to sit and do them? No. I'm just at that discipline of going, every, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, between these times I'm going to do this, workshop. It doesn't seem to happen with my schedule. And but I would like to make more time for it.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a waste of money.
that was where COVID was so great, right? When we were sort of
Oh,
stuck
yes.
and we had to, do things to keep ourselves sane. And
Yeah.
that was an amazing time of just like absorbing.
I felt really guilty for just loving it and never wanting it to stop. But I signed up. So I just got my studio in the November before COVID started, and I had signed up to the Creative Visionaries Art for Life Creative Visionary program, and it started in February, March, and it's a 3-month intensive, and that was the most brilliant timing, because you have homework and it just keeps you moving from week to week. And that was the biggest gift that could have ever happened, that really made me nosedive into this whole world of abstract and process. I'd already been doing it, but with no other distractions. That's what I came in my studio, and the homework, you had to follow through. So time became really beautiful flow from one week to the next. Now it's just this spinning plates and trying to, catch them as they're falling. And if only life were as simple as that. And also we had permission just to be and not see anybody, right? It was,
I think so many lives changed in that time, and I think art has really been a winner in terms of people just wanting to follow what they love to do, more than just earning money and buying and consuming. But the other
and being at home and having, being in their own environment, and also, people are wanting to make art for themselves, or to create art for not only buying more art now that they were more conscious of their environment. As an interior designer, I saw so much investment in interior design, but people were really wanting to enjoy art around them, and whether or not it was for them to do it or they were buying it, it was also a great outlet for selling.
Yeah. It also brings me to another area of learning, and that is teaching. Teaching is something that we both do, and it's something that I love doing. I mean, it's kind of like, as soon as I learn something, I want to teach it. It's just kind of
an innate thing. Yeah.
And I think in teaching, you get to a new level of something yourself. You learn so much more through the process of teaching.
What have you found out about yourself that you didn't know?
Well, I get a lot of motivation out of teaching other people. Like, it actually motivates me to perfect. It motivates me to put it into some kind of order where I can be quite chaotic in how I do my process. When I'm teaching, you need to really think through steps and put them into some kind of a structure. And being a non-structured person, that can be a really good practice.
Yes, it frightened, or not frightened me. I was concerned about that for me at the beginning, because I'm the same. I'm very unstructured. I've been mixing paints and working with this for so many years. I've never ever analyzed how I mix my paints and their quantities and all that kind of stuff. So it is really helpful to break it down for yourself. And also, as you're talking, I'm like, oh, I didn't even realize I that's what I thought. And it sort of clears up your own pathway. I'm loving doing the mentoring. I've got two really beautiful students that I've had for 6 months, and that's been such an honor to really, really get up close and personal, and really look at who they are, who they want to be as an artist, what fulfills them, what inspires them, and the two. It's coming to a finish at the end of this month, so I'll really miss them. But it's been such an honor to see how that has been, how the progression has really been able to help them evolve without implanting your own stuff on them. When you're teaching a technique, so you're teaching a certain type of whatever, you've got a goal somewhat. Mentoring is something that I hadn't really realized how deeply personal. I mean, we spend most of the time talking about energetic states of being and why we do things and what resonates and why it resonates, and you know, the what I'm asking of them is to be completely vulnerable with me and completely open is such an honor to stand and hold space for that. And then it's not about me at all. It's, you know, it's me seeing. My job is to see them, help them see them.
Yeah.
That I absolutely love doing that. I wish I'd have had that. You know, everybody wants to be seen, heard, and validated, right? Absolutely. And to be able to really see somebody is a beautiful gift for me.
It's interesting you should bring up that difference between mentoring and teaching, because I have done that type of mentoring in energetic work with people and held space for them over, you know, 6 months or a year in terms of just that self-development type mentoring. I haven't done the one-on-one mentoring through an art program, but the art mastermind that I'm doing will combine both. Like it is both, but it's a small group.
Oh, that would be really sweet to be able to just see how those two blend. I'm sure it would just be a natural progression, because so much of what we do is, you know, is about finding our voice and finding what is us, to be able to not replicate, to be able to portray what's, you know, who we are, what our vision is. And you can't, it just picking up a paintbrush and knowing techniques doesn't mean you know who you are as an artist. So really, really leaning into, backing into that is, it's critical. And the more I'm doing it with them, the more I'm actually having to really work on myself and do it.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is when you are doing that type of mentoring, it's a two-way thing. It's a communication. It's not just this one way, I'm holding this for you. You've got to be really open and vulnerable and dive into all your own stuff as well. Do you find that with your mentoring?
Yeah, no, I try, you know, absolutely. It's part of that conversation and the dialogue. And if they're watching, hi guys, I love you. But I really don't want it to become about me and projecting anything on me, but the same way that I'm holding a safe vessel for them to show up in, I'm safe in that as well. And so we're meeting in a very intimate way in the middle of that. So yeah, absolutely, I have to show up, and but you know, I'm not here to cry about, you know, some bad days where I, you know, didn't know what the fuck I was doing and questioning whether I could even paint again. But you know, everybody has that. So
it can be really helpful for artists that are starting out to know that is something that is part of the process, that is something that we all still experience, and I'm sure we'll still continue to experience as we get more experienced and do more. It's just being an artist is going into that doubt. In fact, if you don't, then are you pushing yourself in a way? Like, you need to kind of be at that edge of fear to know that you're not just pushing paint around or doing the same thing that you did, you know.
Yeah, for sure. And unless you're an artist, I think anybody else looking in and thinking we're all a bunch of nutcases, you know, I know when I'm whinging sometimes, or my sons or whoever, my friends are like, what? I don't even understand why you're moaning. That looked perfectly good to me. You just don't get it until you're in it. And you know, that fake it till you make it, and I think it's with everybody forever. You know, the questioning the monkey on your shoulder, who do you think you are? And then I saw some artist post this great thing. Maybe it was on TikTok, and she said, I flipped from thinking I'm absolutely useless, don't know how to paint, to thinking I'm a complete genius, and oh my god, this is amazing. I don't know that I ever flipped to that side, but it's two sides of the coin, and you're like, oh my god, I got this. This is great. I'm in it, and I know what I'm doing. And then you're like, wait, hang on a minute. It's a little exhausting sometimes. But I think the older you get, I mean, I'm older than you, I think, but we've been doing this a long time in some regard. So now I notice that thought come in and go, oh, there it is. I don't care. I'm doing this, whether it's the last thing I ever do. And I do know what I'm doing, but continually being humble enough to want to learn and want to, I know when I first did the CVP, my ego took a real, it was really annoying because I kept thinking, I know how to do color. I learned design. I did this. And I could hear this kind of egoic mind going, I don't want to go back to the basics. I don't want to do black and white layouts, and I don't want to do tonal shit. But oh my God, it's that learning the scales, in music, you need to keep going back and reminding yourself. And I going back to the previous question, one of the things that I'm really learning a lot about is from doing life drawing and the figure drawing at the moment. And that's teaching me so much about how things are joined together, really looking and really seeing balance and structure within an abstract painting. It's that's teaching me a lot.
I have to say that's probably the one thing that I'm looking at doing next is that, and it's been a few years, it's been playing in the background. I used to love it when I was younger, and then I kind of let that go when color came in. But charcoal and pencil, and that was my love. So to go back to that, I'm sure, like you say, it's the foundational stuff.
Yeah, it's real. And do you remember at art school? I mean, them just sort of drumming in. I mean, I started life drawing when I was, I guess, 14 in my high school. So I did it religiously for decades. But and even in art school thinking, well, I'm a designer. Why do I? And I always did drawing and illustration side, even with the graphics. I kind of jumped ship every now and again when I could. But just how fundamentally important it is for your work. And I wasn't an abstract painter then, and not really understanding it, and then suddenly getting it once I was in the design world, and just knowing that it's going into your psyche somehow. That
yeah, and it's like you say about the scales. I mean, my son is studying a master's of visualization and animation at the uni here, and every morning before his uni starts, they do life drawing. So
really,
very cool. It's like and it's just so good to see, because they work on computers all day, for them to be really it's about doing that kind of practice to begin the day, which is awesome. I think that's really important, and I need to take my own.
Yeah, is there somewhere that you could do it near you?
Look, I'm sure that there's lots of places. I just, like you say, it's the time thing, but you've reminded me. It's something.
Prioritizing these things. Yeah. I mean, I really can't encourage you enough to do that. It's been something I've wanted to do. And now we host it here in my studio is always too messy to host it. So in Laura's studio next door, it's beautiful and calm. And so a group of us come in and do that every other week. So
maybe I need to find someone to come in here and I'll host.
Yes, no, for sure. And then you've got groups of people around you. And that's the other thing is, learning from each other. That's why workshops are so brilliant, because you're picking up from other people as much as you are learning. Not that we have a teacher for our life drawing, but you're just techniques and you're picking up and absorbing from one another all the time. And so that's why having groups of workshop is so much more conducive to creating that sort of the buzz within you and watching each other do stuff.
Liz, I've never told you this, but around the corner from me, there's an art shop, and I work there a couple of days or 1 or 2 days a week. And maybe for the last couple of months, I've been doing that, and it's been so fun. Actually, what's fun about it is learning about people that, great artists come in there, but also just people who want to start. And it's so interesting to see how that when they come in, they want to buy the best of everything, and they buy one canvas, and it's like everything is going to go onto this piece, And I've seen it happen so many times. And it's like,
That's
I'm
interesting.
just there thinking, oh
Would
man.
you say something? Do
Oh
you
yeah,
say?
like first of all, don't start there. I say buy a pad of 100 sheets that you don't care about and
Yeah.
just let loose and be messy and don't care.
Yeah.
There's a saying, I don't know who it was that said it, but they said every one of us has 1,000 ugly paintings in us.
Yeah.
So get to work because they're going to have to go out first.
Yeah, I mean that's gosh, it's such a shame that I'm glad that you're there to tell them that, but it just is a nosedive when you've got one finished canvas that you're just, I mean, that's when I start there, I know I'm gonna create a disaster. So yeah, that must be
It's fascinating. It's fascinating
yes.
on so many levels because you get so many different types of people and so many different levels of artists. There's
Yeah.
also, artists that come in there who think that but it's that thing, right, of like feeling that they are and that they no longer are learning, or there's just so many different types of people. I find it fascinating in human relations, but also in terms of how people see the creative process. It's probably more than anything, it shows me that there is a need for someone just to give permission around different ways of putting paint onto paper or crayon or pastel or pencil. Just there's a real piece here that I think is not being taught, and maybe it is, but it's not that accessible to people that are starting. I think they go to these.
I wonder whether whether it happens in art school now. I mean, I didn't do fine art. I did, we both did graphics, and I was able to do some illustration, and I've always drawn and even as in graphic design, I did a lot of the visualization and with my marker pens. But I wonder whether that's taught a lot more in a fine art course now. There's part of me that would love to go and do a fine art degree or a master's in it.
It feels so indulgent, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's so expensive here that it's not worth it. But just to be completely immersed in learning would be a wonderful thing, and just see how what is actually being taught at that level. It would be really interesting.
And whether they're teaching, and my feeling is that they're not, but I could be wrong, the business of art, how to actually make a business out of this at all different levels, because we're not all going to be shown in the finest galleries, and yet I know that that's a wish of many people that are going to art school, but there's so many different types of artists and ways that your work can apply to different markets, and I think that that's a piece that is not being taught. I don't think. I could be wrong, but I don't think.
Yeah, my niece, my twin brother, he's an artist and designer as well. My niece is at uni in England, and interestingly, she was over with me a couple of summers ago, and we had this big debate about would she go into to uni to do art and design, or did she really need to do business? And interestingly, she made a decision, given the current circumstance and financial situation of the world and their family, to just do business. And knowing that she could keep her art going, or knowing that she always had that, it was more important. And I wonder how many students are pressured into going down a business route and putting their art on the back burner because it's not necessarily going to earn money, whether it's been a flip because of the society, the culture that we live in is so expensive now, and the pressures of making ends meet. I think there's a lot of families that would not, I know a lot of families that would say, no, you're not going to art school, you're not going to get a job. It's, you got to know how to, if there was it would be lovely to think that there was a combination of the two, that, it was much more of a commercial, you didn't have to decide whether, one route or the other.
And look, I've been interviewing a lot of artists for Art and Soul for the mastermind that I'm doing, and so many artists out there put their art on the back burner and did something else because they needed, or they were perceived that artists don't make money. So I think that that's been around, like that starving artist archetype is very, very real. now as much as it was back when I was at school and when I was studying. It was just this thought that you're never going to make money from art. So, go into design or go into interior design or go into business. There was always something else to do. And it's taken, I think, with a lot of the women, it's women that I'm interviewing, they're all kind of, this side of 40. And it took them a long time to then come back to art and say, no, actually, this was my love. This has been in the background and I want it to be more in the foreground.
Yeah. No, and that's good for them. But, just tapping onto talking about the business, I have invested money in a business course, and it was a really great thing for me, because even though as a graphic, in a graphic design commercial world, I didn't ever learn to run a small business. I mean, I've had my design business. I never really learned how to do that properly. My brain doesn't work in numbers and that kind of strategy. So it was really helpful. I could do it because I was selling a service. Selling your own art is so different from any other type of business, because it's a brand. You're building a brand that's about you. That's this. So I highly recommend people investing in business courses if they are doing the art thing. It blew my world open when I had done that. It gave me the confidence to make some bigger moves and greater risks. But I learned a lot. There are things you have to learn about it, and I'm still learning. We just we touched on before we started recording NFTs. I would like to learn about NFTs. That's something, an area. Can I get my head around it? Absolutely not. It doesn't resonate with me. But if you talk to certain artists that are legitimate, that are producing their own work and going down that route, then there is opportunity. It's not an area that I know anything about, and so I will have to force myself to really study it. But I'm interested to know if the world is changing in that direction. We need to sort of be on top of it in some ways.
In a way, like when I was a print designer, so I did everything was print. I love paper, and so everything to do with my design work was paper. And when it all digitized, I just lost complete passion for it. And in a way, that's why painting called me back, was because I like the tactileness of it. And I know that with NFTs, you're still creating the art, but there's something about digitizing that is I can't get lit up.
No, not at all. No, I'm exactly the same. Yeah, it leaves me cold. But if there are people that want to do that and will help you, then I want to understand what it actually means. I'm not going to do it, but
you can find out about it and teach a course on it, and I'll do your course.
Oh, don't hold your breath. That's going to be a long time down the line. I think it's really bizarre, but anyway. So are there any podcasts and things that you're listening to at the moment or books that you've got that you recommend, that you've learned anything in particular from, seeing as that's our subject?
Yeah. Well, to be honest, I, having done a decade of kind of like self-discovery and learning everything from, listening and doing workshops, and I've gone very much to more practical type podcasts and books, audible books. Seth Godin, I listen to his podcast every week. I've read his books on just doing the process, doing it every day, shipping work, getting it out there. It's you've just got to, there's it's more about that type of thing that I'm listening to at the moment. There's another one.
What's his podcast called?
His podcast is called Akimbo.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's on every week. So his new one's just come out today, and it's really interesting. I listened to Big Magic again. I've read it. And there's some quotes and things that she uses in there that I love. But the other one, I'll just look at my library. I've got The War of Art that I've just downloaded. Have you?
Oh, the book.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I must have 3 copies because I see it and then I have to have this book and then I forget that I already got it. I've started it so many times, Deni. I haven't been able to really get into it. Maybe listening to it might be a good thing.
Yeah, I listen now while I'm painting,
Yeah.
and I find that that's so. I used to be such a big reader, and now for me, Audible while I'm painting is my way back into books. I have nine Ninth Street Women. Have you heard of
Oh,
that? It was
no.
actually one of the women that is in Art and Soul told me about it, and it's about a time where there was a group of artists in New York who all got together, and I think it was the early part of the 1900s, and it was about the women and how big the
Mm.
women were in that movement, and yet we hear all about the men, and it's about these 9 women.
Oh,
So,
that sounds cool. And
that's
that's a book. And
that's
that's called Nine Women,
Ninth Street Women. So
Ninth Street Women.
yeah, it's
Okay.
about these women artists. So
Oh, that
that's
sounds
yeah.
great.
So that's the sort of thing.
How do you learn, Deni? What's your best method of learning? I have some kind of auditory processing thing going on that I remember at school, and I'm not completely dyslexic. I'm a little tiny bit dyslexic, as many designers are, amazingly. I don't learn by. I have to learn by doing it and feeling it. So Audible books are great. They kind of go in. I don't know how much stays in my brain. I tend to order books. I listen to them and then I order a hard copy, and so that I can go back and highlight them and turn the pages and do the PDFs and do the work. How does your brain work?
I think that if I'm listening to a book, it gives me an idea of whether or not I want to know more. And then if I want to know more, then I need the physical, and then I need to do the processes. So the Audible just opens my world to a lot more ideas, and always that's something that I find interesting. It's like a book that I love, I'll buy it physically and I'll buy it audibly, and I'll probably do a mix of both on something that I really like. But I listen to a lot more books than I actually.
The guy that set up Audible lives in my town.
Really?
Yeah, it's done very well for himself. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. It's just
Yeah. No, I'm the same. I just wish I retained it a little bit more than I do. But especially after COVID, I can't remember. But I can remember what color your bathroom tile is, or or the runner and the third floor. It's bizarre how I can retain certain things. But
I put my headphones on, and at night, if I wake up in the middle of the night, I put on an Audible or a podcast. And what actually happens to me is I fall asleep, and then they enter into my dreams. So I have had,
really,
yeah, I've had. In fact, last night who was I listening to? I think it was a podcast with Nick Wilson. I think his came out, and I put it on, fell asleep, and he entered my dream. I think I was in a workshop with him or something.
how nice. Well, I'm glad that's what it was. Yeah, no,
I've met so many famous people in my imagination because of listening to the audibles. It's amazing.
Sometimes when I go to sleep, and we could go and chat. How are we doing for time? Sometimes when I go to sleep, I intentionally ask for lucid dreaming, so that I can go on a little bit of a journey. And I sort of ask my guides or whoever that take me down that route, that I get some answers. Doesn't always happen, but I've had some really great experiences with it.
Yeah.
Then it's remembering them when you wake up.
DreamWorks, amazing. And on that note, I'm just going to leave. I'm also going to bring up the book Belonging by Coca Turner, and she does dream interpretation and dreaming and the power of the dream world. Since we're just entering Pisces season, that's a good one to bring up. So
do you ever dream in abstract?
Wow, I think dreams are abstract, really, like so abstract.
They can't. But do you not find that there are sort of story? I mean, the concept might be abstract, but there's a storyline that sort of, or not storyline. There's a narrative that goes through. What I have loved sometimes is just being in color, and that happens at nighttime when I can't sleep. I often put some sort of meditative music on, and I just I float into the colors of the music and the colors of the, and I'm sort of semi-conscious thinking, oh, that would be a great painting. Oh, and I'm aware that I'm dreaming, but I can't remember it when I wake up. But colors and music are, it's lovely to be able to pull those together.
Amazing, beautiful.
Yeah. Anyway,
and on that note, that's been a little bit over an hour, so that's a great one for us this week.
Nice. Great. Well, it's good to chat with you. I could go on chatting all night. It's but as I mixed up a whole load of paint, so I'm dying to get going. Although it's it's 7 o'clock here and I haven't eaten all day, so I don't know how long I'm going to last tonight pushing through. But
fun. Can't wait to see what comes out of that.
Well, it's a lovely lot of work behind you.
Yes, I'm working towards this exhibition, and so just trying to. I'm not allowed to paint today. I'm on the computer. I'm doing other things. But it's so tempting. It's so tempting.
A little escapism, yeah.
We'll see you again next week for another.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's great to chat. All right.